Based in Madison, Hoffman EV has done some pretty amazing conversions, including right here, this DeLorean. Let's see if we can get it up to 88 miles per hour.
Charge on, Wisconsin! I'm reminded of the Robert Zemeckis film every day I go to work in my office. It's one of my favorites. In my best Doc Brown voice, let's go back to the future. 1990 to be exact. 16-year-old me, whoa. Without creating any temporal paradoxes, you can see I've had a thing for the DeLorean for a while, with or without a Mr. Fusion attached. So when I learned that Hoffman EV would be bringing their electrified DMC-12 to the Wisconsin Clean Cities Transportation and Innovation Expo, I thought, this is heavy. Hoffman EV has done several ICE to EV conversions. I've linked their website in the description, so go check them out. But before you make like a tree and get out of here, let's check out the electrified DeLorean.
Why a DeLorean, and why did it make a good EV?
DeLorean is hands down one of the most iconic vehicles ever designed. Everybody knows what a DeLorean is. And originally, there's kind of a bit of information out there that they were a bit of a dog when it came down to power plants, that they didn't quite perform as well as they looked. So we fixed that. We rectified that. And ultimately, it was John Z. DeLorean's dream to construct a car out of, stainless steel because he wanted it to last forever. It was supposed to be a forever car. He went through the effort to utilize things like composite fiberglass and stainless steel to make sure the thing would last forever. But of course, there is failure in standard internal combustion engines in that mechanically they are not sound, and that's why so many DeLoreans end up being barn finds at this point in time. The idea is with something so iconic, put it on the road where it can be enjoyed, where it was intended to be. A car this beautiful should be enjoyed as a regular daily driver. So putting an EV drivetrain into it is exactly what it needed to, number one, perform like it looks like it should perform. Number two, become what John Z. DeLorean envisioned, which is a forever car that requires minimal maintenance to stay alive and continue to be used forever. And number three, it gives it that performance, that is exactly what you need. The balance, the comfort, the steerability and maneuverability, as well as obviously the speed. So no longer is it just a luxury coupe, which is what John DeLorean designed it as because of the underpowered engine, but now it is a sporty luxury coupe with performance that is beyond sports car performance. Okay. So it's a Tesla Model 3 performance drive unit. So just the motor, that's it. Everything else, we have custom designed and built battery boxes with a higher energy density battery chemistry in them. So it's more punch in a smaller package. That allows us to custom design battery boxes to fit in places where they can be stealthy, where we can maintain the integrity of the vehicle as a classic, iconic vehicle without it looking any different, without taking up any added space or taking up any space that's available. In fact, we're able to add more utility space when we do the conversion to this vehicle. So it's more useful as a car, a daily driver. You can actually take it on a grocery run, no problem. It's got a trunk. You can fit plenty of groceries in the back. But it also performs like mad. It's fun to drive, all those things. It's difficult because we're not only taking new technology and building it into, the biggest constraints are that it's a 40-year-old vehicle that we're putting everything into. So we have to find those unique spaces to hide things, to maintain its originality. We have to hide things. That's the biggest challenge, is being able to fit enough to give it a reasonable range, to give it better than reasonable performance and handling, but still maintain the originality and add more utility. We always want every one of our cars to be better off than it was before. If you take up too much space, it's no longer useful as a car. Now it's just become a very expensive toy. We still want it to be a car. We still want it to function as a car. And we want it to have the usefulness of a daily driver. I think we've achieved all those things.
Is this something you can replicate? And if somebody came in with their barn stored DeLorean and said, "Yes, please," is it easier then the second time, third time to put one together?
It takes us about 2 weeks now.
Okay.
We've done 5. We've done 3 individual builds on this specific car because this is our test mule. But yeah, the first car that we built for a customer, it went to Google. Google was the very first customer. And that one's out in Mountain View, California. And then we've built a couple for private owners, 3 of them for private owners. We've done the world's only DeLorean limousine, is now fully electric. And we did that one in our shop. So yeah, we have some folks that help us out on the sales end at DeLorean Midwest. So folks approach them, they send the vehicle up to us, we do the full conversion, send it back to them, and they complete any restoration work that needs to be done on it.
Okay, so you guys don't do
like
restore, so it looks like it's 1983.
We prefer the car be fully restored by the time it gets to us. Something to make sure that it still looks very original is we go through and do custom gauges on the inside. So our gauge cluster, you can take a look at it later on. It looks totally original until you look closely and realize that that's not a fuel gauge. The gas pump is no longer on there. It's now state of charge of your battery. It now reads amps instead of having your tachometer in there. Speedometer is still the same. But yeah, we keep everything as original as possible. So as far as restoration, we have the ability, but what we really want to focus on is doing the conversion, that portion. We have the capability and the skills for the restoration, but that can get really deep. So it works better for us to parse that out, have DeLorean Midwest handle any of that. We get the car, then we do all the full conversion. We change up the things on the inside for electric heat, making sure that all the mechanical HVAC controls still function as they should with our new electric systems, electric air conditioning compressor, etc. So everything is still fully functional. Everything is now just electric, or electric vacuum pump instead of the one that used to run off the engine, things like that. But yeah, everything to keep it as original as possible, but definitely bring it in performance-wise and functional-wise into a modern electric vehicle.
This was the full engine in here previously, but now there's a good sized amount, like you were saying before, that you could take this to the grocery store.
Oh yeah, and fill it up.
Yeah,
absolutely. Originally, the engine was a V6 that went in here as a Peugeot, Renault, Volvo engine. They were really reliable. They used them from the late 1970s all the way up into the early 1990s in Volvos. But it was a V6. It filled the entire space. It came up to here, air cleaner and everything else. So it filled the whole space. Well, with our electric drive unit, it just needs to fit way down where the transmission was, in between our rear wheels. Once the drive unit is there, that opens up all the rest of the engine bay for just batteries. One option is to fill it with batteries, but then your center of gravity is messed up. The vehicle no longer responds the way that it should. So we went with our higher energy density, more compact batteries, allowing us to build a lower profile battery box, putting it into the frame and below. So that opens up the rest of the top end of the engine bay, the original engine bay here, for us to have a lot of space. We have a floor that fits right in here, and then the rest of it is now a trunk. So,
And it's not like some frunks where it's not sealed. This is actually just would be sealed,
right.
weather-wise.
Yeah, you have your original engine lid, that closes down, and it had, vents on it to allow for heat dissipation. But we've just covered those up with plexiglass, so you can still see them. So you still have that original, visual. But yeah, now it's fully protected. So anything that you throw back here is going to be protected by the louvers. You've got, some redundancy here of having the louvers to help keep moisture out, and then you have the engine cover with plexiglass to help keep moisture out as well. So wind, rain, anything like that, yeah, you're going to be safe if you want to keep anything in here.
Where is the charging port back here?
It is.
Or is it?
So it's
Okay,
important. It's important. It's important that the vehicle look original.
Yeah.
So we, keep that in mind as we're installing everything. That's our charging port right there.
Very cool.
You back right up to your charger and plug in, and if you're on a level 3 DC fast charger, in less than 40 minutes you've got a full charge and you're ready to hit the road again. And full range is well over 200 miles. Okay. Estimate is about 220. We haven't run it all the way down, but the estimate is around 220 plus.
Okay.
So
that's my
it'll get you there.
old Volvo C40 was 226. That's, and I don't know that I ever got that, but
right.
I mean, it gets you far enough. I always feel like my body is much more susceptible to needing to stop than maybe the car, right? So you getting it past that is really all you're trying to accomplish, right? And then configuring it, like you were saying, you could have filled it up with batteries, but configuring it so that it's inside the safety, original safety frame and structure. How much of a learning curve was that when you guys had started these to say, I want this thing to go for 500 miles versus I want this thing to, like you were saying, behave like a sports car and not something that you're dragging a trailer around?
It was, the original first build, I believe, had mostly just batteries in the rear. We decided to cut into the floor up front, under the frunk, and put a battery box under the frunk. So you still have all the original space there, put a new floor in, battery box is underneath, it's got a removable floor. So that's added weight up front where it's actually a little bit more than original from where the fuel tank was removed. But now we've also pushed a little bit of that weight a little bit farther forward as well, which increases weight over the front end that it needed in the original design. And then coming to the rear, we wanted to keep that balance for performance reasons and find where is the trade-off. And what it ultimately came down to was supplying enough battery power to max out what the engine or what the drive unit is capable of pulling. Okay. And that's exactly where we hit. So we hit the perfect point to maximize the performance. We've got enough juice for the drive unit to push it to its max performance. Anything extra would go into range, but ultimately at over 200 miles of range with a vehicle like this, most of your driving is going to be on day trips around town or out into scenery. But even with over 200 miles of range, it's still enough to genuinely go road touring with this. Cross-country trips are a possibility, as long as you've mapped out your charging network.
Sure.
So ultimately, it was to maximize performance, but still give you light enough weight that it doesn't become counterproductive to the performance.
Sure. Is it all-wheel drive? It was a rear-wheel drive, right, originally. How did whatever you guys did change that, or did you just kind of build upon what it could do before?
So we maintain somewhat of the original mechanics, the mechanicals, in that it is a rear-wheel drive, and that the drive does go to the rear wheels from the two original drive shafts that came off of the center transaxle. In fact, the drive unit itself fits exactly where the transaxle was, and Tesla drive units actually sit off-center to the left about 1.75 inches. We made some adjustments to our mounting system that allows that drive unit to be perfectly centered, which allows us to utilize the original drive shafts without having to custom cut them or lengthen or shorten them at all. The ability to utilize as much original equipment as possible without too many modifications is also a goal for efficiency.
Yeah.
And for doing it as affordably as possible. It's when you get into purchasing batteries, it's expensive. So the more we can keep the price down, the more we can reuse without expending additional resources, the better. So it is about sustainability, it is about recycling, it is about upcycling, and it is about improving something and making it even more useful as its intended use case.
Sure.
So a lot of what we do is not just about cool factor, it's about clean factor, and it's about earth-friendly factor. There's a lot of benefits and positives to what we do, and we try and maximize each of those as much as possible.
It's not just, people my age that are dreaming of being Marty McFly and whatever.
Right.
You guys do this for other cars as well.
Right, yeah. So we started with the DeLorean. It just seemed like a great starting point. From there, I went on 1970 to a 1970 Land Rover Series 2A. It's the predecessor to the Defender series. That's a great one. We use that as our electric plow truck at the shop, which is great. 1993 Bentley Brooklyns, which is what's known as the SZ platform for both Bentley and Rolls-Royce. So any vehicle of that platform from either Bentley or Rolls-Royce, we can do a full conversion on those with 85 kilowatt hours of battery, Tesla Model S performance drive unit with the ludicrous speed and everything else. It is an insanely fast vehicle now, but it's even quieter than Rolls-Royce or Bentley originally intended, which was one of their big things, is to have a very silent vehicle. So you've got this beast of a luxury vehicle now that no longer is insanely expensive to maintain. Now you can see it on the road. And now, when you ride in one, it's an incredible experience all on its own. Being able to ride in one that's electric, there's no concern over what's the repair bill going to be as a result of enjoying it. So that's another one. Vintage Volkswagens are fun. 1984 Volkswagen Westfalia camper. That's my personal vehicle.
Okay, I saw that one at the Expo too, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And other, smaller air-cooled Volkswagens as well, Volkswagen Things, Volkswagen Beetles. So we've got the capability of doing many different types of cars, and anything else, any other model of car is just a matter of getting one in there, to become a test case for the next build for us to be able to engineer into. But ultimately, we're trying to kind of shift a little bit as we find ourselves doing a lot of fixing of the car sometimes, as opposed to just being able to do the conversion.
Okay.
So it makes it an expensive endeavor. So we're really looking to make electric vehicles, specifically custom electric vehicles, for any kind of utilization, any kind of use case, more affordable. For smaller municipalities that don't necessarily have the funds to get into a $1 million trash truck or something like that, we're looking to create a platform that becomes an affordable starting point to be able to create whatever it is you need from recycled parts.
We'll have more with Hoffman EV from the T&I Expo coming up. Until next time, we'll see you at the next charge.